This is Geometry Lesson 9.1, and in this lesson we're going to talk about the Pythagorean Theorem. So hopefully the Pythagorean Theorem is something that we've seen before. It is called a squared plus b squared equals c squared. And what that allows us to do is, if we know the lengths of two sides of a right triangle, we can use the Pythagorean theorem to find the length of the third side. So let's talk about some vocabulary here. Sides A and sides B are called the legs of the right triangle, and side C is called the hypotenuse of the right triangle. The hypotenuse is always the longest side of the triangle, and it is directly across from the right angle. So you see the right angle points at the hypotenuse. So what we're going to do when we label our triangles is we're going to label the three sides of the triangle A, B, C in order from short to medium to long. And then if we want to find the length of the hypotenuse, we can use this formula, a squared plus b squared, add them together. That'll tell us the length of the hypotenuse squared, and we can square root it to get the length of the hypotenuse. If I needed to work this backwards to get the lengths of the legs, I can take the length of the hypotenuse squared and minus the length of a given leg squared to get the other one, and that works whether I'm finding A or I'm finding B. So in words, in a right triangle, the sum of the squares of the lengths of the legs equals the square of the hypotenuse. So, some examples then. Example A says, use the Pythagorean theorem to find the missing length. So I'm going to start by labeling the three sides of my triangle. A for the short side, B for the medium side, and C for the long side. And to me the short side was really obvious, but if you're struggling with the medium and the long side, remember the hypotenuse across from the right angle is always the long side. So I'm trying to find the hypotenuse right here. So I'm going to do a squared plus b squared on my calculator. A squared plus b squared, 6.3 squared plus 15.4 squared. Okay, and that gives me 276.85. Now that is not my final answer. I have A of 6, B of 15, C is not going to be nearly 300. What this gives me is C squared. So if I want my answer of C, I need to square root the value that I just found. On this calculator to square root, we do second, and it's the same button as the x squared button. That's my square root. And the answer is 16.6. Example B, I'm going to start by labeling my short, medium, long in order. A for short, B for medium, C for long. Now I'm looking for a leg, so if I'm trying to find a smaller answer, I'm not going to do a squared plus b squared. I'm going to do c squared minus b squared to try to get a smaller number. So I'm going to do 15 squared minus 13 squared, and that gives me 56. And then the square root of 56 will give me my final answer. And that is 7.48. Maybe I'll just round it to 7.5. Example B, I have a rectangular rug. I want to find the area. If the width of the rug is 12, and the diagonal of the rug is 20. So if I ignore the top half of this rectangle, that's a right triangle. I know the diagonal, which the diagonal of the rectangle is actually the hypotenuse of that right triangle. So if I'm trying to find a leg, I'm going to subtract to get a smaller answer. We're doing 20 squared minus 12 squared. And that is 256. And then I need to square root 256. And that is 16. Now this question actually asked me to find the area of the rug. So the area of a rectangle is base times height. I have the base right here. I have the height right here. So I'm going to do 16 times 12. And that gives me 192 square feet. That is it for 9.1. Good luck on the exercises, and please let me know if you have any questions.